Hi, we want to celebrate you today. On International Day of the Girl, we celebrate all the girls all around the world. Rites for Girls and the Festival of the Girl are partnering to celebrate girls today. Girls and their key adults, the important people in your life, your mum, your dad, your grandparents, your friends, your family friends. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how to make the most of those relationships with the adults in your life, because we're here to guide you, to help you, to support you as you grow into young adults. So we celebrate the girl that you are today, and we celebrate the woman that you're going to become. And I want to introduce you to an idea which we call the mother-daughter date, but actually it doesn't have to be mother. It could be father, it could be grandparent, it could be auntie, it could be family friend, but just having some special one-on-one time with another adult. Actually, it was my own daughter that helped me to invent this, although it's not an invention. Mothers and daughters have been doing this forever, but it gave me the idea of making it something really regular in the life of me and my daughter. She's actually the third of our children, and so by the time she came along, I thought of myself as a pretty experienced mum, and because I worked from home, I was around a lot, so I thought I was a pretty attentive mum as well. I'd learnt from my mistakes. I knew not to call her by her nickname in public or to spit on a hanky and wipe her face. Yeah, I did that. But also, I was busy, and I think she felt that, because she would come up to me quite often during the day and just ask for a cuddle. And so I'd kind of put my arm around her and give her a bit of a squeeze. And then this little face would look up at me, and she'd cross her arms and she'd have this really cross face, and she'd go, "No, mummy, I want a full attention cuddle." So I learned that I needed to stop stirring that pot or typing that email or whatever else I was doing at the same time, and to give her my full attention and just to wrap my arms around her. And it was like she had a sixth sense, because even while I was holding her, if my mind went on to kind of like, oh God, what do we need to have for dinner, or what do I need to organise for tomorrow, she'd go, "Mummy." So she taught me something really important, that even though I thought I was giving her my really good time and attention, that's not how it felt to her. And actually, when we were expecting our fourth child, and the midwife used to come to our house, she'd sit on the sofa between us and she'd call it girls together time. It was like she sensed that this was important women's business and she wanted to be part of it. And then when the midwife stopped coming, she carried on wanting girls together time. And at first, she was really happy just for the two of us, me and her, to sit on the sofa, maybe with a cup of something hot or biscuit, and just to sit and chat for half an hour. And then she got more ambitious. She wanted girls together time outside of the house. She didn't actually really mind where we went or what we did. The important thing for her was that it was just me and her. Girls together time. And so she taught me that actually making special time outside of ordinary life, just to be together regularly, was something that she really needed. Actually, the girls that I was working with were telling me something similar. At Rites for Girls, we work with preteen and teen girls. We run Girls Journeying Together groups, which are small groups who meet in person for girls who are in year 6 or year 7, so sort of 10, 11 years old. And we meet monthly for a year. Girls get to practice being true to themselves. We mentor them. We teach them about some of the changes that are coming with puberty. They share their hopes and fears with each other. We have a lot of fun. And they make friends for life, because in Girls Journeying Together, you don't have to change anything about yourself to fit in. You belong already just exactly as you are. We have another form of girls group too, called Girls Net, and that's online. That's much shorter. It's not a year, it's 6 weeks, and that's weekly. And that's for girls anywhere between the age of 8 and 18. But you would meet in groups of girls the same age as you. So we meet online for about an hour and a quarter once a week for 6 weeks, and you have a Girls Net mentor who shares with you ways of coping through times of difficulty. You'll meet other girls, so you'll discover that actually a lot of what you're experiencing they are too, so that you get that sense of not being alone. And again, no need to change anything about yourself to fit in, so you'll get that feeling of camaraderie and friendship. So I was hearing from the girls that we were working with that they weren't getting from their mums what they really wanted. And yet, when I was talking to their mums were saying, yeah, we have special time together. And often though, mums, especially as their girls were growing older, were sort of starting to feel sad that they felt like they were losing touch with their daughters. As you grow up, and especially when you move to secondary school, your life gets busier and your friendships become even more important. You want to spend time with your friends. But actually, that doesn't change the importance of your relationship with the special adults in your life. I think a lot of people think that they ought to. Actually, let me tell you a story. This is about a girl and her mum. I'm going to change their names, and I have checked with them. It's okay for me to tell this story. So I'm going to call them, I'll call the mum Carly and the girl Sophia. So Sophia was the kind of girl who told her mum everything at great length, into great detail, everything that was going on at school, in her friendships, the music that she liked, the programs she liked to watch, her hopes and dreams for the future, everything. And then she moved to secondary school and started to tell her mum a lot less. And at first her mum, Carly, thought that that was normal and didn't push her daughter to share more. But she had a sense, how mums can have a sixth sense sometimes, that all was not well, even though when she asked Sophia how she was doing, she'd say fine. So Sophia's mum decided to take her away for the day. They went down to the seaside, and her dad and her brother had some time together at the same time. And down by the sea, they paddled and they played mini golf and they ate ice cream and just really enjoyed each other's company. But it wasn't actually until the evening over fish and chips that Sophia started to open up a little bit more to her mum about what was going on at school. And it turned out that she was struggling a little bit with some of her new friendships, and she found it helpful to talk it through with her mum, just like she used to find it helpful. But what she realised is, because she'd gone to secondary school, she thought she ought not to need her mum so much. She thought she should be managing on her own better. But of course, her mum's always going to be there for her right the way through her life. You never get too old to need to share your problems and talk things through. Adults do it. Children do it. And Sophia realised that day that actually it really helped. So even though she still perhaps didn't share quite so much with her mum, because she now had, friendships where she could talk things through as well, she realised that her need to have that one-on-one time with her mum was still there. And her mum set aside regular time, about once a month, to go away with her daughter, just to make sure that they could create the space in their busy lives for that to happen. So that's what I really want to suggest, that you and your mum create together, you and your mum or another mother figure, some other important adult in your life, because I think there's something different about setting aside time regularly, so it's going to happen, you can rely on it, but it being something that's sort of slightly different and special, kind of outside of ordinary life, a bit like a date. That's why we call it a mother-daughter date. Of course, it doesn't have to be mothers. But you kind of do things together that just allow you to spend a bit of time together. And it doesn't have to be heavy conversations either. It can be fun. So you could, maybe once a month, you stop off at a favourite cafe on the way home and have a hot chocolate together. Or it could be a bit more adventurous. You could decide to try out, joining a choir together, or learning kickboxing. Or you could ask your mum to take you to where she grew up. You might go and visit your grandma together and ask her to tell you stories of when she was your age. It can be anything really, and it could be, what's good actually is to think up mini dates and maybe one or two really big special dates, so that in every year you have maybe one thing you do together that's a really big event and can cost a bit more maybe, but that actually you plan together regular time, just to have time, you and your mum or another special adult in your life. And even when things aren't going well between you, really important not to cancel those dates. In fact, that's the time when it's most important to carry them on. When you need to maybe kind of repair the relationship between you a bit. You need to kind of spend a bit of fun time together so you get closer. Because I think sometimes, mums can become the person who nags you to do your homework and reminds you to pick up the damp towel off the floor and hassles you to get to bed on time. And sometimes that can mean that your mum doesn't feel like the kind of person you want to hang out with. But actually, what you do with dates is you think of things that you could do together that would be fun together, so you can enjoy each other's company. So your dates are definitely not a time to have a go at each other. Definitely not a time to talk about things that you wish were different about the other person. It's more of a time to talk about things that you enjoy about each other. It's time to have fun. It's time to, it could be talking about things that are difficult, that, sharing things, that troubles that you have, but not a time to have a go at each other, which, all mums and daughters do. So these mother-daughter dates need to take priority over housework and over homework, and really good if they could actually be really regular. In fact, you put them in the diary so that you can look forward to them, you can plan for them, you can decide together what you're going to do. And if you find that you can't find that time, just a little bit of time once a month, then maybe that shows you that you need to change something in your life, change the balance in your life. If you can't make time for something this important, and something which could be really enjoyable, maybe you need to kind of have a look at what you could cut back on so that you can make these dates a regular feature in your life. And actually, when you start your monthly bleed, when your periods start, it can be really good to time your mother-daughter date with the week that you're bleeding. And the reason for that is that's often a time when you feel a bit more sensitive, a bit more in touch with your feelings, which isn't a bad thing, but it just means that it's a time when maybe you will want to maybe talk things through a little bit more. You might want to get that feeling of being really extra specially cared for, and that someone's looking out for you. So that can be a really good way of also just acknowledging that this special thing that's happening in your life once a month. So your date could happen once a month on the same week that you've got your period. And it's never too late to start mother-daughter dates, so it doesn't matter how old you are. When actually the first chapter of my book is all about mother-daughter dates, and when I wrote my book, my mum was really nervous to read it. She thought that it would be a book all about what she'd got wrong, which of course it wasn't. And when she'd read the book, because the whole of the first chapter is talking all about mother-daughter dates, she came to me, and this is me in my 40s at the time, and she would have been in her 70s. She came to me and said, "Would you like to go on a mother-daughter date?" And I was like, "Oh, yes." So now I go on regular mother-daughter dates with my mum, because we don't live in the same place. We only do it once or twice a year, but we go away together, and it feels really special, because she's always going to be my mum and I'm always going to be her daughter. And we have a special, there's nobody else in the world who is my mum. No one else in the world. Actually, there is another person who's her daughter because I've got a sister, but the relationship I have with my mum is really special, and it's really lovely to make time for it. So why bother? Because we are all busy and there are lots of things that take our time. Why add another thing in? Well, I think it's because it makes us feel good. Mums and daughters. I am a mother to a daughter myself, and I know that spending, putting everything to one side, turning my phone off and just being able to hang out with her with nothing that we need to do, no need to get anywhere or be anywhere or do anything. It just feels really lovely. I love my daughter and I love spending time with her, and it feels good to do that. And what she tells me and the girls that I work with tell me is that when an adult who even though you might spend lots of time with them, but when they set aside special time, their own spare time to spend with you, it makes you feel good. It boosts your self-esteem. It makes you feel good about yourself if someone's choosing to spend special time with you. So that's why it's worth doing. But interestingly, the mothers that I work with, I run parenting courses as well. When I talk about the mother-daughter date, they often say to me, "Oh yes, this is something that I've always done with my daughter." And I believe that. I know we as mums, it's really important for us to, create those childhood memories, those special days out and those moments too. It doesn't have to be a whole day. And yet the girls were telling me that this wasn't happening. And I think I asked my daughter about this and I said, "Do you feel like we have regular dates?" And she was like, "No, we do things sometimes, but I think sometimes you cancel when your diary gets busy." And she was so right. It was true. I'd have in my mind and in my diary to have some special time with her. But if something else came up, I would, that it would get bumped off. And so what I want to encourage you to do right now actually is to get really practical. Mums, if you're listening here too, and any other key adult in a girl's life, just spend a moment now thinking about the things that you love to do. So girls, think about things that you really enjoy doing with your mum or other key adult. How do you like to spend time with them? And it doesn't have to be big. It can be things you do at home. Maybe you kind of take over the kitchen and cook a 3-course meal together, make menus and then serve it to people. Or it could be making popcorn and sitting on the sofa and watching a video together. Or it could be going out. Maybe you print a map off and get someone to drop you off somewhere away from home, and then you use the map to find your way back again. Looking at old family photos together. Just what is it you love doing with your mum or other adult? And just think of 3 things if you can. And it could be maybe choose 1 big thing and 2 not so big things. And then parents, do that too. What do you enjoy doing? What might you want to share with your child? Maybe share a love of yours that maybe you enjoyed as a child or you enjoy now as an adult. And if you too could think of 3 things, perhaps 1 big thing and 2 simpler things that you could share. And then if you just jot those down, you now have 6 dates. Between the 2 of you, you would now have the first 6 months of your monthly mother-daughter dates or adult-child dates. And because I think it's so easy with busy lives to forget these, we made something called the Mother-Daughter Date Diary. This is one of them. And it's got a section for every month with a topic for the month. But most importantly, it's got a diary so that you can decide what date it's going to be. So you can look forward to it. You can anticipate it just like a date. And then there's a page for planning the date. There's a couple of pages for then recording it so that you can, stick in tickets or photos or draw or write about the date. Then there's a page that many girls love is a rate the date. You decide how good was that? How would you want to do that again? And there's the page that gives the topic for each month. You don't need to have a mother-daughter date diary. We have a whole range. We also have a unisex version, which you can buy at the shop on our website, ritesforgirls.com. And rites is spelled RITES. So ritesforgirls.com. But even if you don't have that diary, I want it to give you the sense that it's really important to plan it in. And what's lovely about having a notebook, say, that you have to record your dates is that you both share responsibility and have the charge of this. So you both know when it's going to be. You're both involved in the planning, and it becomes a keepsake memory because you've got a record of all your dates and you can go back over them and decide which ones you would like to repeat. So if you want to find out a little bit more about it, the first chapter in my book, From Daughter to Woman, goes into much greater detail. And this book, although it's written for parents of girls, there are sections in this book that are written for you girls as well. There are 4 sections where I talk about what the changes are in puberty, how to manage your monthly bleed, what to do with those big feelings as your feelings become more intense, which is a natural thing to happen as you go through in your preteens and your teens, and then talking about your important relationships. But anyway, today, on International Day of the Girl, I want you to know that we celebrate you. Being a girl is a wonderful thing. Growing up to become a woman is a marvel of transformation, and I really want for you to enjoy that, but also to feel supported along that journey. It's not a journey you have to make alone. We adults have all gone before you. We've all gone through so much of what you're going through. So draw on your friends who are going through it too, and the adults who want to make your journey through into adulthood as well supported and as kind and as happy as possible. So today I celebrate you.